Are you thinking about moving to South Florida and you like the idea of the historic neighborhoods around downtown West Palm? Well, in this episode, I'm going to tell you about a neighborhood that strikes the perfect balance, not too gritty and not too exclusive. It's Flamango Park, and it's full of charm and character, beautifully maintained streets with timeless homes. So stand by and I'm going to tell you all about it. So before we get started with our tour of Flamango Park, I want to just do my map thing with you and show you proximity in the overall county and then within the city of West Palm. And I'm filming this here outside because it is the most beautiful day of the year here today. It's been raining for like a good month and now it's beautiful. So here we go. So you can see this is where we're going, Flamango Park. And here we are really in the north central area of Palm Beach County. So West Palm here is the lower city limit. This spillway canal that comes from the inner lake networks into the intercoastal, which this is the So-So district here. And then if I zoom in a little, we've got Southern Boulevard that leads over to Palm Beach, and this is Mar-a-Lago here. And here's El Cid and Prospect Park. This is what we're going to talk about today, Flamingo, Grandview Heights, and then here's downtown West Palm, and then north of there is the Northwood District. So I've done videos on almost all of these neighborhoods, and this is the final really historic neighborhood that I haven't covered, and that's Flamango Park. So I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit, and you can see it runs adjacent to El Cid and Prospect Park, but on the west side of Dixie. And right around here is the Norton Museum. It's actually right here. And so you've got El Cid on the east side of Dixie, Flamango Park on the west side of Dixie. And depending on where you are in Flamango Park, you might be 5 or 6 blocks from the intercoastal. So that does differentiate this area. You've got the airport over here, and word has it that the Secret Service has determined to keep the flights not flying over Mar-a-Lago for the winter months. So we're going to see more fanning of the airplanes in these upper and lower neighborhoods, which it'll be interesting to see how much noise that adds to the area. But you usually don't get that much noise here in Flamango Park as it relates to the airport. So basically we're concentrating. Okeechobee Boulevard is the I-95 exit to the north, and this goes straight through downtown, across the Middle Bridge to Palm Beach. And then Belvedere Road is the southern boundary of the Flamango Park area, and that's also an exit just north of the airport from 95. And the only other thing I'm going to tell you about the niche ratings, if schools interest you, the niche rating for all these neighborhoods is in the A-ish area, so it gets a very good overall rating from niche as a neighborhood. And because the zip code is 33401, it has a great elementary school public option, which is Palm Beach Public, which is across the Middle Bridge right in this area for the public elementary school for these neighborhoods, and also very outstanding public middle and high school, as well as just great overall private schools in the area. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, you can feel free to call me or shoot me a text and we can talk about it. Okay, so now that you have your bearings, next section we're going to take a tour of the neighborhoods of Flamango Park and Grandview Heights. So Flamango Park, as a historic district, it was established back in the 20s, if you can imagine. And West Palm is one of the oldest cities in South Florida. So as a historic district, the homes are a Mediterranean revival style. And there's also a lot of mission and kind of eclectic looking Spanish style homes, but most of them are beautifully restored. They have gorgeous hardwood floors and fireplaces, lush gardens, and the overall feel of the district is very tropical, larger lots that are all very well landscaped because it sits on this natural ridge that's like one of the highest ridges close to the ocean in the South Florida area. It kind of has a neat vantage point, great breezes, and the little hill just adds to the charm of the area. And something else I'll say about this is that the Flamango Park Property Owners Association is so strong and is known for the loyalty of the residents to the area. They have a garden tour every winter, which is just shows off these beautiful gardens and these homes. And I think that this comes from, I used to live in Prospect Park, and I was renovated a 1920s house back, say, about 20 years ago. And, people were really pioneers back in the 80s who were, spending the time and the money to fix up these homes in Flamango Park when it wasn't the popular thing to do. And now the payback is coming because they've created just this beautiful neighborhood. And as you can see from these clips, so there are 500 homes in Flamango Park that are designated contributing, which means that they are historic. And this area was originally another area here that was a pineapple plantation. So it just kind of has that historic charm. And it's really a beautiful spot. The only thing I'll say about it is that all these neighborhoods that we're about to talk about, they are bordered by two of the railroad lines. The one to the west is the Tri-Rail, and the one to the east of the neighborhood is the FEC line, which is where the Bright Line runs, as well as the commercial carriers. So it can be a little bit noisy, but it's just like with the other neighborhoods with the airports. You're kind of in an urban environment, so it's the one thing you do have to live with, but I think they've gotten it under control. Every time I'm in the neighborhood, it's not something that I notice, so I don't think it's really a huge complaint. So we're right here on the corner of Flamingo and Georgia on the 500 block. And I just wanted to stop and take in the beauty of the street. And it's so quiet, and there are so many mature mango, frangipani, coconut palms, Royal Poinciana. It's really, they're very proud of the mature landscape that they have. And if you'll notice the incline of the road, this is like a natural ridge that ran all along here, from here to Grandview Heights. So it is a little bit elevated, which is good for flood insurance, and just better breezes, you're a little bit more up, and lots of shade. So that's why you need to call me so I can help you figure out the right neighborhood for you. So the residence we just passed is the old Como estate, which is also, there's a building downtown named for Como. He was a local businessman. And so there were a number of these larger estates here in Flamango Park before the area was platted for these now historic homes. We're on our way to 529 Biscayne to show a house that's currently listed, but I just wanted to stop and compliment this beautiful home. We're on Biscayne, and this is just a beautiful street. It's very shady, beautiful mature trees, and most of these homes are renovated. It's very attractive, very quiet and peaceful. So this home is currently listed for approximately $2 million. It's 1,600 square feet and completely renovated. And this is really one of the prettier streets here, Biscayne in Georgia. Now, if you look this way down the street, you can see that this block needs work. So there are opportunities to buy an older home and renovate it. And I'll also point out that you can hear the airplanes here, but it really isn't as bad as just north of Southern Boulevard. So Grandview Heights is one of the city's oldest neighborhoods. It actually dates back to the early 1900s. And it's the oldest because it's the nearest to downtown. And a lot of the workers that Flagler employed for the railroad lived there. So it's mostly like bungalows, Mission Revival, and more like the vernacular cottages. This is another area like with Flamango Park, but in an even more magnified state. Back in the 80s, this was a really rough part of town. But once City Place got started on the just north of here, just north of Okeechobee, and the Kravis Center was built, the convention center, and then it got historically designated in 1995. So it's really turned the corner, and it's known for its charm and its proximity to like everything. The Norton Museum of Art, downtown area, the waterfront, and there's also a couple of really popular bed and breakfasts in Grandview Heights. One of them is called the Casa Grandview. We'll see these videos here, and people like to stay here because it's, you can walk downtown. You can walk to City Place. You can walk or ride your bike just about anywhere from this location. Now we're entering Grandview Heights. And honestly, when I lived in Prospect Park like 25 years ago, you wouldn't even come in this neighborhood. It was so crime-ridden and needed love and attention. And now it's just people realize what a great spot it is, and it's so close to everything, downtown, the waterfront. So you can see it's a little bit older. The homes are smaller, and it has more of a mix of multifamily. You can see the cranes in the distance. See, those are the luxury condos that are going up along Flagler. What? We're right at the railroad tracks, so we're just west of Dixie. We're turning onto Florida Avenue, and those are the luxury condos that are getting built on Flagler. So that's gives you a perspective of how close you are to the Intercoastal, Lake Worth. So this area was designated a historic district in 1995, along with Flamango Park, just in the nick of time, because it really incented people to renovate and improve the properties. It's known for its charm. It's got charming little bungalows. It's got a real community feel, just like Flamango Park. And so as we come to this stop sign, just to give you context, that tall building there is a condo right on Okeechobee. And these townhouses back up to the convention center. So we're right at the north end of Grandview Heights. On the other side of these townhouses is the convention center, and straight here, one more block, is Howard Park. So we're here in Howard Park, and this park has been here forever. It's 19 acres, and it sits on the west side of Flamango Park and Grandview Heights. So they all run along here. And then we have Parker over here, and then this is Okeechobee. So we're right at the south corner of the Kravis Center and the Convention Center. And this park it's been here a long time, and it kind of was neglected for quite a while and was not the kind of place you would want to go. And back in like 2008, they started a plan to improve it, and they're continuing to do that. And so it's got kind of an interesting backstory. This was kind of the outskirts of town back in the day. And when Flagler was building the city and building Palm Beach, the farmers would come from Okeechobee with the produce and products for the city. And there's a canal that runs here along Parker, and it would come out by the airport, come down this canal, and this is called the turning basin. So those canal barges would actually come in here, and this was the turning station, and they would unload here. And then when I talked to you about the Armory Arts Center, that was actually the marketplace. So I'll show you that later. So here at the Howard Park now, it serves this whole area of downtown that has grown so much. All the people that are living in City Place, the whole redeveloped Flamango Park, Pineapple Park. So it's a very popular park, and they've recently redone the tennis courts, redone the clay courts, added padded pickleball courts. It's got a basketball court, and then we'll show you the playground and the dog park and the plans for reconstructing the community center. Look out for these signs, and that's serious, because when I lived in Prospect Park, one morning I got up and the police cars were in the street, and I go out to see my neighbor, and he's like, oh my gosh, we were 3 houses in from the Intercoastal. There was an alligator in his backyard. So they mean business when they say that. One other thing I wanted to tell you was, a lot of people refer to these as banyan trees, and actually they're just very old ficus trees. And they've probably been here as long as the park has been here. So they line this whole area. Oh, here come the ducks. So ficus, not banyan. So this is the western edge of Grandview Heights. The convention center is right here at the north end. These are the streets of Grandview Heights, and then further down Flamango Park, to give you context as to how close it is to the park. So the park has 2 separate dog parks, one for smaller dogs and one for larger, and they call it City Paws. Moms love this playground. It's all padded. It has lots of equipment for little kids and bigger kids, and it also has awnings, which is really nice for especially the summer heat. It's amazing how many playgrounds in the area don't have awnings for the kids, so they're completely useless in the summer or during the sunny times of day. So this is the existing community center, and there's plans to expand it to an 8,000 square foot facility. They even have shuffleboard courts over here, which I doubt they're going to replace those because they are outdated. So they expect by 2027 to have a new community center here. So this is the Armory Arts Center, and it sits right at the south end of Howard Park and right on the border of Flamango Park. And the story here is the story I told about the Howard Park. This was actually, the market was here. So during World War II, the building was built as an actual armory, and hence the Art Deco style. And then after the war, it kind of was left, unused until like the 60s, and it was used for proms and parties. There's even a story that Chubby Checkers was here. And then later it was just totally abandoned. And in the 80s, going way back for me, I remember these people, Bob and Mary Montgomery gave the first donation to rehab the whole building and create an art center because the Norton Museum had closed its student art facility, and all the artists got together and they opened this as an art school. So since then, it's gotten more and more popular. They have art exhibitions, they have art fairs and craft fairs, and it's very popular. Okay, so what I love about all of these districts around downtown is that they have their own little ecosystem. I mean, everything kind of circulates together because it's not that geographically that far to go from El Cid to Soso to Flamingo to Palm Beach to West Palm, but they each have their unique characters. So what I like about the Flamingo Park area is that kind of has a little bit more urban vibe, not so much like Northwood as a sophisticated kind of urban vibe with young people establishing businesses. And so I'm just going to share the map of the different businesses. But what I think is really fun is, see, for instance, here's the Norton Museum. This is all Flamingo Park, all here. This is the warehouse district over here. And I never knew they called it Flamingo Park. I always called it Banyan Park. So it's right here. There's this beautiful park that I call Banyan Park, but it's called Flamingo Park. And you can see from these videos, it's got these giant banyan trees. It's always beautiful and shady. You hardly notice it when you're just flying along here on Dixie Highway, but it is the entree into Flamingo Park. And the other thing I want to point out is because you have the railroad, which runs like right here, you have to kind of know what streets have a crossing and which don't, because not all of these streets do. Right here at the Flamingo Park, there's this place called Very Important Paws for dogs, and you'll see this mural that they have on the wall. But this is like one of the first dog sitting kind of places that opened up years ago. But I think they actually have a pool inside, and they do overnight, and they have little rooms, and it's actually very popular and very well thought of, which is kind of a nice thing to know you have that available. And then all along here are restaurants like Boucan is a really popular restaurant in Palm Beach, and they have the sandwich shop here. And there's the Grotto, which is Italian, and that's owned by the same people as Boucan. And then there's Civil Society Brewing Company. You go down a ways, and there's this place called Pig Beach, which I guess is like a transplant from Brooklyn and from New England. And it's super popular, and it's delicious. And then down here at the lower border is Belvedere Road. And when you see Georgia here and Parker, but mostly Georgia is where all of the tradespeople, artisans have been for years, and they're even drawing even more people to that area. And so we have this spot here called Industry Alley, which I took these videos and walked through. It had a lot of really neat shops, a coffee shop, flowers, a barber, Mexican food. So there's just a lot going on here in terms of food and shopping. And then there's also there's a standard Publix here on Belvedere. But if you come up Dixie, another couple of spots that support Flamingo Park are both the Bednar's Market, the Bednars are these farmers from Boynton Beach, and they actually are still growing out there in Boynton, and they have this retail store called Bednar's here on US 1, and also Joseph's Market is also here. So there's good resources for food and not very far from home if you're living in Flamingo Park, and a lot of great restaurants, as well as just the great restaurants that are downtown, which is only like here's City Place and everything that's going on, and here's Flamango Park. So it's the proximity is really great. So this is the back side of the warehouse district, which we're going to talk about. There are homes over on Mercer that are more lower price point homes, but as you can see, we're right at the south end of downtown. There's all these great places here, the pump house here, there's bars and restaurants. And this is the canal I was talking about that the boats would bring the goods in from Okeechobee back in the day, and now they use this just for water management. But we're here just on the west side of Howard Park. So this district here, they call it the warehouse district, but they also call it the Grandview Market district, which the Grandview Market was established a few years ago with some local businesses, and it's getting a reimagination. It's going to be called Caroline Station. And there are a number of clothing designers that are going to be moving here, artists, restaurants, and market food. And then in the same area surrounding the Grandview Market are a couple of different condo and apartments that have been built in the last couple of years. Low-rise condos and apartment buildings, and just a couple smaller buildings. And these are really popular because east of 95, east of Australian, and just south of Okeechobee puts you, just a few minutes to the City Place area, a few more minutes to downtown, and not far from the bridge to Palm Beach. So if you like what you heard about Flamango Park but you'd like to talk a little bit more about it, feel free to call me or shoot me a text, and I'd be happy to talk to you anytime. And if you are interested in knowing more about some of the other neighborhoods in the historic area, check out these two videos on El Cid and Northwood. See you in the next episode.